Let's start with Pokrovsk, which has been the primary target for Russia for more than 15 months now. The Russians have reinforced the Pokrovsk sector with additional forces, ranging from 6,000 to 10,000 troops, according to different estimates. By early October, the Russians had already established a presence in Pokrovsk proper, entering the city from the southwest. Throughout the month, they made considerable progress inside the city, reaching the E50 highway and turning the train station into a grey zone. It is important to note that the Russians are using different methods of advance, which we talked about in several previous episodes. In previous major battles, like Bakhmut, Avdiivka and Toretsk, the Russians regularly launched mechanized and tank assaults and non-stop infantry assaults to force the Ukrainians out of their positions. This tactic has caused massive losses, both in manpower and equipment for the Russian army. Now they're taking advantage of the absence of continuous defensive lines for the Ukrainians by infiltrating their rear. And why doesn't Ukraine have continuous defensive lines? First, drones are changing the nature of warfare. Soldiers in trenches without proper cover are vulnerable to drone attacks. Any concentration of infantry can be visible to enemy drones. The second cause is also well documented. Ukraine's limited manpower enables these infiltration tactics to be effective. The Russians send in small units of 5 to 10 men in the dark hours, sometimes in civilian clothes, to avoid detection by drones. Once the Russians are in their infiltration positions, they search for Ukrainian drone and artillery positions and give their coordinates to their own drone and artillery units. As soon as there are enough Russians to take over Ukrainian positions, they attack from several directions. This has allowed the Russian army to gain a significant foothold in Pokrovsk. In mid-October, the Ukrainska Pravda newspaper reported that there were at least 250 Russian soldiers in Pokrovsk proper. This is not a considerable number at all, and they are scattered throughout different areas of Pokrovsk, which is assumed to be under Russian control. However, the Ukrainian manpower shortages apparently prevent them from dislodging even such a relatively small force once they manage to infiltrate their rear. The Battle of Pokrovsk is still going on, and there are still Ukrainian soldiers in areas with Russian presence and in a grey zone. Moreover, on November 1st, Ukrainian military intelligence forces landed in Pokrovsk to conduct counter-attacking operations, so the tide may yet turn in Pokrovsk